Hey everyone, Bob here, and welcome back to the channel. Let's get right to it. Episode 2 of this dog blood tracking stuff that we got going on. We got to pick a command and what we're going to use to get the dog to initiate the actual tracking process. And you might ask, why is that so important? Well, when it comes down to training a dog, consistency is really key with whatever you're training the dog to do, whether it's fetching, sitting, coming to you, running around, playing baseball, or fetching deer. Tracking deer, having a consistent command that the dog understands what you want him to do is super important. Now, it doesn't matter what word you pick. You could have find it, go get it. I use track, track, track like I talked about in the first episode, but whatever you pick, it needs to be consistent. You have to stick with that. You also, if you have family members, you've got kids and other people in your home or people that interact with your dog, you may want to consider using a word that other people are not going to diminish your training effort. And what I mean by that is when you train a dog, and in this case, we're trying to train this dog to blood track, there's going to be a specific reward that they get for doing, following, going along with that command that we come up with. And in my case, track, track, track. When that happens, hey, if he succeeds, he gets a really good reward. We're not punishing, so there's no discipline or anything like that, but a lack of the reward is the consequence in essence. So, if you've got people that are using your terms haphazardly without a reward, it could slow your training process. So keep that in mind. Sometimes people will use terms that aren't so common around their home. I use track, track, track because nobody in my home is going to use that. Episode 1, I talked a little bit about Scott Brosier with Versatile Gun Dog. Now, Scott is a professional dog trainer at Pine Hill in Belding, Michigan. You can Google that, look it up, find Scott. He does boarding and all other sorts of awesome stuff with dogs. But Scott's got some content out where what he's doing is showing the process how he will train a dog to track deer or blood track as a professional training, meaning this is what he does for a living. He wakes up, does this with dogs. People drop off their dogs. He does it with his dogs. And it is a professional atmosphere, facilities and whatnot doing it. The spin I'm putting in this or onto this for you guys is kind of, I talked about the pros versus Joes, meaning I'm just kind of the Joe, and I'm going to sort of show you how you can really get this process going with whatever dog you've got in your backyard and really help yourself with success with finding a wounded deer so you don't have that lost meat or that trophy that you're looking for. So this session, or really what we're talking about today, is two things. One, you need to come up with a consistent command and kind of protect that command. And then two, how can we incorporate more positive learning experiences in our home atmosphere to really facilitate our training and boost and keep it going? My dog has this goofy thing. This is his great big nylon bone that keeps his teeth clean. He loves this thing. What I do, got my blood here. Now, I will take one little dab of that blood and just put this on this thing. Now, I can't smell it. Nobody in my home can smell it. But Panzer, my Dratar, he can smell this. He looks for this bone like it is his trophy. This is his favorite thing in the world. Now, I've got a different command in the house for him to pick this thing up. But nonetheless, he is looking for the blood, the deer blood. So I'm incorporating a couple things, and I'm also teaching the dog to use his nose within the house for other tasks. So there's some things like that, little tricks that I will use around the house to get my dog in that learning atmosphere of what we're looking for, and meaning deer blood here. So a review real quick of our last session. All you need is your dog. You need some deer blood or beef blood or some kind of blood, and that consistent tracking collar. So again, everything has to be consistent. We're going to put the collar on the dog, and we're going to take the dog, and then we're going to use our command. Scott talks a little bit about putting a heavy track down. I agree with that. I like to keep it short. I like to keep it sweet. I'm doing it in my backyard, so we're going to do this one more time, so follow along with me. I'm going to lay a very short and heavy blood trail for the dog, and I've got a treat for him at the end, so let's go do this. All right, well, if you guys watched the first episode, you know I ran the blood trail kind of over here, and this was several days ago when I ran it to that fence right there. That's, we're looking at about 15 yards. So today what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go over top the same line. I'm actually going to go along these rocks over here. Got my blood, and just like before, I'm going to start. I'll put some on these stones so I can see the I'll let you guys see it too, but make a heavy starting spot. And again, I want the dog to know which direction we're going. We really want him to succeed when we start this process. So I'm putting down real heavy blood trail. Now we don't want him to get bored too much. I'm going to take a couple steps here. And again, I do want to mention this dog has some training behind him, but this is just for training purposes to show you guys. And as you go, this would definitely get more complicated. There'd be less blood, farther between it, more age, whatnot. And we're actually going to make a little bend here. There we go. There, we got a lot of blood down, and there's the treat. So now let's go get the dog. All right, I got Panzer here, and consistency. We're putting our tracking collar on. He's going to know what that means. Right up there was our starting spot. He's got his high reward down there. He is hungry, hasn't eaten yet, so he's got some appetite. So this is going to mean a lot to him. And he was playing earlier, so he's got a little better focus. We were playing around and burned off a little bit of that steam. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to get him going, and we're going to use our command. All right, let's go. Track, track, track. Track, track, track. We started him out right there. Track, track, track. Track, track, track. You see him looking. Track, track, track. Track, track, track. Track, track, track. Well, where's he going here? Track, track, track. Track, track, track. Track, track, track. Oh, and there's the reward. Short, simple, and sweet. That's what we want to do. We want to be consistent and do that a bunch of times right now. Big reward. Good job, buddy. Good job. Good job. All right, so there we have it. Another really short, super simple track, but consistency is the key. Now, hey, I'm just showing you, you can just do this stuff at home if you got some parks down the road. Now, I wouldn't suggest putting some blood out on the local soccer field where kids and stuff have to play. But if you got some open lots or some field somewhere, I don't think you're gonna have a problem doing some tracking. But you can start this stuff right in your backyard, right in your front yard. I do this stuff all over the place, just getting the dog going. Eventually, after you've had really good success, meaning you can see Panzer's already done this a bunch, but when you start your dog out, this is gonna go a little bit slower. You may not want to do it every day if the dog seems like they're getting bored. Take a break from it, or get yourself a higher value reward for the finish. So they're really excited about doing this. Panzer likes these milk bones. A lot of dogs are kind of bored with those. You might want to use a hot dog like Scott talks about over at Versatile Gun Dog, piece of salami, something you normally wouldn't give them, but that is a huge treat to them. But as you go, you're gonna spread out your drips a little bit more, let the blood dry a little bit more. You're gonna add some turns eventually. I'm gonna show you guys how I do all this basically right from my home in my backyard, and then getting myself out to some fields and bigger lots to extend this to an actual working like we're looking for a deer. So here we go, episode 2. I hope you find this useful. You need to have that command, come up with its use, track, 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 or whatever it's gonna be, pickle, blue, green, blue 42, whatever it is, get your command, be consistent, and try not to let other people contaminate your command by diluting its value. All right, check in soon. We're gonna have another episode out real quick, and pop on over to Versatile Gun Dog and see what Scott has to say about how he's doing this, or maybe how I'm doing it. See you soon.